Drugs. You've either taken them, or you know someone who has taken them. From tobacco to marijuana to angel's dust, drugs are very prevalent in our modern society, for better or for worse. And this video isn't meant to tell you whether it's morally right or wrong, even though I think we can all agree that there's too much of a good thing, and the hardest drugs have the history to prove it. Legally, on the other hand, I can hear the US government knocking at my door, so don't do drugs, kids. But this video is meant to discuss drugs as depicted in manga, from the highs to the lows. Now, drugs are very rarely a main theme in manga, probably because Japan is stricter than the US when it comes to those sorts of recreational activities. But that doesn't mean it isn't discussed. It does show up in a lot of crime series like Banana Fish, but I want to explore some lesser known series that use drugs as a main theme, although we will touch on some drug themed side plots. So I scraped through the bottom of the barrel to find some drug manga titles to talk about, so here we go. I think it's best to start with a manga about the effects drugs can have on a person, and Ultra Heaven is one such manga. Ultra Heaven, sitting at 3 volumes and on indefinite hiatus like many other manga, is set in a world where drugs are legal. You can walk into a bar and just like you would order alcohol, you can order drugs. You can order drugs designed to bring out whatever emotion you want. You want to feel happy? There's a drug for that. You want to feel sad? There's a drug for that. You want to feel nostalgic? There's a drug for that. Whatever you want to feel, there's a vice for it. As a result, pretty much everyone uses drugs. Kabu, the main character, is a Peter Pan addict. Peter Pan seemingly gives the user a lot of energy, akin to something like 100 cans of Monster Energy in a patch that you can put on your arm. And who knows what sort of hallucinations the user sees while under the influence. Maybe they dream of unending youth, like the myth the drug is named after. Eventually, Kabu runs out of his own supply and goes to a drug bar and asks for a pegula. The bartender gives him his vice, but when he injects the drug, he realizes it isn't the drug he asked for. You see, all drug bartenders are doctors. This is so they know the right doses to give, which drugs to mix with each other, and vice versa. Pegula, when mixed with Peter Pan, sends a user into cardiac arrest. He was basically asking for a death sentence, and the doctor, not wanting a dead body in his bar, gave Kabu a new experience. One thing Ultra Heaven loves to do is go on mind-melting trips, and Kabu's trip with this new drug is the first one we experience. One moment he's fighting another patron of the bar, the next he's falling through the sky, then he's climaxing and is reborn from his own seed, and you're sitting there asking to yourself, what the heck am I reading? Of course, different drugs will have different effects and depend on the person using them, but the mangaka behind Ultra Heaven will continue to use these weird acid trips. It looks like what Joe Rogan describes using DMT as. Alongside the rabbit hole of acid trips, the series plays into the theme of chasing the first high. No matter how many hits you take of the same drug, it will never feel like the first hit, sniff, jab, or pill you took. When your virgin brain was altered by the chemical reactions introduced by the user's drug of choice. Kabu is a victim of this cycle. He's searching for the same high he felt when he mixed Peter Pan and Pegula for the first and last time, when he had a near-death experience. Luckily, or unluckily, depending on how you look at it, the paramedics saved Kabu from that experience. But rather than have some sort of rude awakening, that is now the peak he is chasing after. Drug use can be a rough thing, and people who see its effects can choose whether that's something they want to indulge in or not. But what about when someone is peer pressured into taking something they otherwise wouldn't? Drug It is the most recent drug-focused manga we'll talk about in this video, with the one-shot being released in 2020. The one-shot follows our main character Haru, who lives in a dystopian cyberpunk-style world where they work as a bounty hunter who live streams their hunts for thousands of people to watch. It's like if those Mr. Beast assassin and bounty hunter videos were cranked up to a 100, because oh my god, she just cut this man in half. But I'm getting too ahead of myself. Haru gets word that the junkies are disappearing off the streets, and word is they're being kidnapped by a cult. Haru gears up, and before the live stream begins, she's peer pressured into taking the same drug that the junkies have been using, with her friends stating that it would increase viewership because people love seeing others get high on stream. Haru follows a truck to the cultist hideout and begins chopping them down one by one. She makes her way to the main room where the cult leader and his followers are worshipping their master. The leader explains that the drugs the junkies have been using were made from their master's body. The drug gives its users immortality, and the cult wants to turn the junkies into drugs to give their masters immortality. I'm making it sound more complicated than it actually is. The cliff note is that the cult wants to turn their master into a god. Haru cuts down the leader and his followers, turns their master fully into drugs, and gives it to their subscribers. I think the major thing that makes Drug It stand out when compared to other drug manga in this video is how it connects with streaming. Streaming is the most prevalent it has ever been, with sites like YouTube, Twitch, and Kick pulling in thousands of viewers daily. With ever-growing viewership and competitors, streamers are constantly looking for something to pull in viewers, be it reactions to popular videos, subathons, political debates, drunk driving streams, and more. And in a world where drugs are more prevalent and questionably legal, it would only make sense that streamers would use them to pull in more viewers. You can get 100 viewers by playing American Truck Simulator, or you can get 10k viewers by smoking weed while driving an American Truck Simulator. Thus, our main character is peer pressured into taking something she otherwise wouldn't. The next manga may not be surprising to those who read it. Banana Fish, standing at 19 volumes and releasing in 1985 until 1994, follows a young gang leader named Ash as he goes on a journey to uncover the secrets of something called banana fish. Spoiler alert, banana fish is a new drug that has been hitting the streets of New York and has even made its way to Vietnam, as the series is set after the events of the war and has flashbacks to said war. The drug was originally made by a military doctor and tested on US soldiers in Vietnam. The drug effectively brainwashes its user, getting rid of all sense of reasoning and making them incredibly violent. This is best showcased at the beginning of the series when a soldier named Griffin turns on his fellow soldiers and opens fire on them. Eventually, the drug is perfected and makes its way into the hands of the mafia, which would begin dealing it out on the streets of New York. As crazy as it might sound, there is historical evidence to back up this kind of story. In a 1971 report filed by the US Department of Defense, 51% of armed forces were using marijuana in Vietnam, 31% were using psychedelics like LSD, 28% had used hard drugs. Coinciding with these drugs, the US military had also prescribed pills to increase performance. Suddenly, banana fish doesn't sound too far-fetched. And let's not forget MK-Ultra, the CIA program that would administer drugs like LSD during interrogations in order to get what they wanted. The US government was going to get the results they wanted, even if it meant using the things they deemed illegal to get them. My Hero Academia, a series about superheroes in high school, deals with this idea of drugs through trigger, a drug that amplifies one's quirk, turning something that could be harmless into a deadly weapon. The drug has a more prominent appearance in Vigilantes, with All For One helping to create a new version of the drug known as EDO Trigger. EDO Trigger not only amplifies the user's abilities, but turns them into a rage-filled monster that attacks anything in its path. My Hero Academia is not the first story to have this idea, let alone a superhero series, for that matter. Chances are, if you know about Batman, you most likely know about one of his greatest adversaries, Bane. Even though Bane has immense strength and endurance from pure training, he often uses a drug known as Venom to increase these attributes, at the expense of his sanity and health. The Batman Arkham video game series, specifically Asylum and City, introduces a variation known as Titan, which, much like EDO Trigger, turns the willing or unwilling user into a rage-filled monster that fights until the user's heart gives out on them. Outside of the superhero realm, yet showing drugs in a superhuman way, is the Fallout game series. More specifically, Fallout 4. Fallout increases the user's strength, Mentats increase the user's intelligence, Jet slows down time, the list goes on and on. In a way, these depictions not only glorify drugs, but also show the ugly consequences of using them. Maybe that's what I'm doing with this video. Maybe I'm contributing to the countless drug depictions that show the euphoria and horror of this relatively gray subject matter. And ultimately, it is up to you, the consumer, to form your own opinions on whether drugs are good, bad, or both.